Ladies, let me tell you something real. When a man sees you've moved on quietly, gracefully, and without warning, it hits him in a way words can't describe. It's not the dramatic exit that gets to him. It's not the angry texts, the emotional calls, or the long posts online. What shakes him to his core is the silence. Silence is not weakness, it's power. The kind of power that says, I don't need to explain myself to you. The kind that says, I've made peace with my decision. See, most men are used to noise after a breakup. Emotions flying, endless arguments, the back and forth that shows you're still emotionally attached. That's what they expect because to them, that noise means you still care. And if you still care, it means they still have some kind of control. But when you go quiet, when you stop reacting, when you disappear from his world without bitterness, and instead focus on building your own, that's when reality hits him because now you're not reachable. You're not holding on. And you're not giving him the satisfaction of seeing you struggle without him. What he expected was the version of you that would chase, plead, or try to prove your worth. What he didn't expect was the version that smiles without him, glows without him, lives without him, lives without him. That smile he didn't put there. That's his wake-up call. That peace he can't disturb anymore. That's his loss staring him right in the face. Moving on without saying a word tells a story louder than any confrontation ever could. It says, I'm fine without you. It says, you were a chapter, not the whole book. It says, my life goes on with or without your presence. And here's the truth. No man is prepared for the moment he realizes you've healed without his apology, without his closure, without his help. That's when his mind starts replaying everything he did, everything he lost. Because nothing unsettles a man more than knowing the door is closed. Not with anger, not with hate, but with calm, unshakable peace. Why silence is your power. Silence is one of the most underestimated forces you can ever hold, especially in relationships and breakups. People often mistake silence for weakness, for having nothing to say, or for avoiding confrontation. But in truth, silence can be the strongest, loudest, and most effective response you can ever give. When you choose not to react, not to explain, not to fight for someone's attention after they've wronged you or walked away, you're doing something far more powerful. You're protecting your peace and taking back your control. Men, in particular, are often prepared for noise after a breakup. They're ready for the arguments, the accusations, the emotional roller coaster. They're used to the late night calls, the long text filled with hurt or anger, and the posts on social media that indirectly point fingers. They expect you to express your pain openly because that pain reassures them that they still matter to you, that they still have a presence in your life. As long as you're reacting, they know they still have some form of control over you. But the moment you go quiet, everything changes. You take away the comfort of predictability. You leave him with nothing to respond to, nothing to defend himself against, nothing to use as an excuse to re-enter your life. Silence forces him to sit with himself, to face his own thoughts and feelings without distraction. That's when the discomfort begins to grow, not because you said something hurtful, but because you said nothing at all. That nothingness speaks volumes. Silence sends a clear, unshakable message. I'm no longer playing this game. It tells him that you're not looking for validation, not chasing answers, and not waiting for him to fix things. It communicates that you've made a decision for yourself and your life. And that decision doesn't require his approval. It's a demonstration of emotional maturity, self-respect, and self-control. And the truth is, control over your emotions is a form of power. Very few people master, but once you have it, it changes how people treat you forever. The beauty of silence is that it allows your actions and your energy to do the talk. You don't need to broadcast your healing process or your plans for the future. You don't need to justify why you're moving forward without him. You simply do it. And as you continue to live your life smiling, glowing, and achieving things without his involvement, he begins to realize the reality. Your happiness is no longer tied to him. That realization is more impactful than any words could ever be. Silence also robs him of the opportunity to manipulate the narrative. When you stop engaging, he can't twist your words, can't feed off your emotions, and can't draw you back into cycles you've already broken free from. You're not giving him material to work with. Instead, you're leaving him in the dark, and human nature hates uncertainty. People will often fill silence with their own assumptions, and those assumptions can be far more punishing than anything you could have said. What makes silence so powerful is that it's not rooted in revenge. It's rooted in self-preservation. You're not trying to hurt him. You're choosing not to hurt yourself anymore. You're redirecting your energy from chasing closure to building a better future. You're proving to yourself that you can walk away with dignity without the need to explain your worth to someone who failed to see it. And that more than anything unsettles a man who thought he had you figured out, because at the end of the day, silence doesn't mean you've lost your voice. It means you've learned when to use it and when to hold it back. It means you've realized that not every battle is worth fighting and not every person deserves an explanation. Silence says, I value my peace more than I value proving my point. And once you reach that level of strength, no one, not even the man who once held your heart, can shake you. The moment he realizes you've changed, there comes a point in every man's mind after a separation or a breakup when something suddenly clicks. When he notices that you're no longer the same woman he thought he knew. At first, he might not even recognize it. He might believe that you're just acting different for a while, that your silence or your distance is temporary, that you'll eventually come back to the familiar patterns he's used to. But slowly, unmistakably, the truth settles in. You've changed. And that realization carries a weight he wasn't prepared to feel. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's the product of everything you've been through. The hurt, the lessons, the rebuilding. In the beginning, he may still think you're in the same emotional place you were when things fell apart. He may expect the same reactions, the same vulnerability, the same desire for his attention. But over time, he notices something different in your tone, your presence, your choices. You're no longer waiting for his call. You're no longer hanging on to his every word. You're no longer interested in proving your worth to him. That's when it starts to dawn on him that he's dealing with a new version of you. It's not just that you've pulled back. It's the way you've pulled back. Your detachment is no longer filled with bitterness or resentment. It's calm, steady, and complete. The woman who once reacted quickly now takes her time to respond, if she responds at all. The woman who once would have rearranged her plans to fit as now lives on her own schedule. The woman who once allowed his opinion to shape herself, esteem now draws her confidence from within. These changes are subtle at first, but eventually they become undeniable. What truly unsettles him is that your change isn't for show. It's not a performance to make him jealous or a tactic to get him back. It's genuine. It's rooted in growth and understanding your own worth, and realizing that your life is bigger than any single relationship. He begins to see that the version of you who existed when he had easy access to your heart no longer exists. And for many men, that's the hardest pill to swallow. The understanding that they can't go back to the way things were because you're not that woman anymore. He might notice it when he sees you out in public smiling in a way that isn't forced. He might feel it when he scrolls through your photos and sees a light in your eyes. He thought only he could spark. He might sense it when mutual friends mention how well you're doing, how focused you are, how you're moving forward without hesitation. Every little sign reinforces the same truth. You're no longer emotionally available to him. And once a man realizes that emotional access is gone, it changes the way he sees everything. The moment he realizes you've changed is often the moment regret begins to set in. It's when he starts replaying conversations in his mind, thinking about the things he should have said, the times he should have shown up, the moments he took for granted. He might reach out, testing the waters, trying to see if any part of the old you still remains. But he quickly finds that the dynamic has shifted. You're no longer responding from a place of need or longing, but from a place of choice. And that's a dynamic he can't control. Your change also forces him to confront something deeper. The fact that you've grown in ways that no longer center him. That's threatening to a man who once believed he was the focal point of your happiness. It's a reminder that life goes on without him. And not just goes on, but gets better. That realization can be both humbling and haunting because it means the role he once played in your life is no longer available to him. In the end, the moment he realizes you've changed is a moment of power for you. Not because you've won some battle, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that tolerated less than you deserved. And while he may struggle to accept it, deep down, he knows this truth. Once a woman truly changes, there's no going back. When peace becomes louder than pain, there's a shift that happens inside you. When you've gone through enough heartbreak, enough disappointment, and enough sleepless nights replaying the same story in your head. In the beginning, the pain is all-consuming. It's loud, messy, and impossible to ignore. It screams at you in the quiet moments. It follows you through your days, and it makes you question your own strength. But then slowly and almost quietly something changes. The tears start to dry. The urgency to fix what's broken fades. The need to explain, to defend, or to be understood no longer feels necessary.
That's when peace begins to take root.
And once it does, it grows louder than the pain ever was. Peace doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt. It slips in gently, often without you noticing it first. It's in the moments when you choose not to respond to something that would have once pulled you into an argument. It's in the decision to take care of yourself instead of chasing after someone who has made it clear they won't meet you halfway. It's in the way you prioritize your own well-being over proving a point. Pain is reactive. Peace is intentional. And when you begin to choose intention over reaction, that's when your whole energy shifts. Men in particular notice this shift because it's not what they expect. After a breakup or a fallout, they often anticipate the chaos. Emotions spilling out, social media posts dripping with indirect messages, friends carrying stories back and forth. That noise is familiar to them. And as long as it exists, it reassures them that you still care. But when that noise is replaced with silence, with a calm smile, with a glow they didn't create, that's when peace begins to speak for you. And its message is unmistakable. I've moved on in a way that no argument, no closure, and no apology could have made possible. The thing about peace is that it's not about the other person. It's about you. Pain keeps you connected to them. Peace severs that tie. Pain says, I need you to make this right. Peace says, I'm making myself right without you. Pain keeps you circling the same memories, searching for answers. Peace walks you forward even without all the answers, because you trust yourself to heal. And when a man sees that transformation, it can be more jarring than any confrontation could ever be. What makes peace so loud is its consistency. Pain might flare up and make a scene, but peace remains steady. It's in your daily choices, how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you no longer entertain conversations that drain you. It's in the way you no longer let someone else's actions determine your mood. That steadiness is intimidating because it shows you're no longer moved by the same triggers that once held you hostage. And here's the truth. Peace is magnetic. People feel it when you walk into a room. They notice that you're lighter, freer, and more in control of your own happiness. Even those who caused you pain can't help but see it. For a man who once had emotional influence over you, watching you stand in that kind of strength is unsettling. He can't poke at your wounds anymore because they're no longer open. He can't pull you back into the same cycles because you've broken them. He can't use guilt, charm, or memories to make you bend because you've built boundaries that hold firm. When peace becomes louder than pain, you also stop needing validation for your healing. You don't need people to understand your choices or agree with them. You know you've chosen what's best for you, and that certainty is enough. You stop measuring your worth by who stayed or left because you finally learned to measure it by how you treat yourself. In the end, peace becomes louder than pain when you decide that your energy, your joy, and your future are worth more than reliving old wounds. And once that decision is made, there's no going back to the noise. You've stepped into a version of yourself that not only survived the storm, but now knows how to protect the sunshine. And that kind of peace doesn't just speak, it roars. Reflection hits harder and quiet silence has a way of creating space. Space for thoughts, for realizations, for truths you can't avoid. When the noise of arguments, explanations, and back and forth communication stops, the quiet becomes a mirror. It forces a man to look himself without distraction, without excuses, without the comfort of your voice still being present in his world. That's when reflection hits, and it hits harder than anything you could have ever said. When you stop responding, you take away his ability to measure your emotions. He can't gauge how hurt you are, how much you miss him, or whether you're still holding on. That uncertainty becomes the breeding ground for reflection. He starts replaying moments in his mind, not because you reminded him, but because the silence left him alone with his own memory. Every unanswered message, every day without a word from you, Every picture of you living your life without him becomes a trigger for self-questioning. It's in that quiet that the what-ifs start to pile up. What if I had treated her better? What if I had listened more? What if I hadn't taken her for granted? These questions grow louder in the absence of your presence. The quiet gives them room to echo, and the echo is often unbearable. The most powerful part about this silence is that it doesn't require you to do anything. You're not trying to make him think. You're simply living your life. But the lack of your energy in his world creates a void he can't ignore. Reflection is unavoidable when there's no noise to drown it out, and often it's not until that moment that he truly begins to understand the weight of his actions and the reality of losing you. This kind of reflection doesn't just stir up guilt. It brings clarity. He begins to see the moments he overlooked, the kindness he dismissed, the love he mishandled, and the harsh truth he must face is that you've moved forward while he's still standing in the shadow of what could have been. In quiet, the truth is louder than any argument, and the regret runs deeper than any wound. Closure without his permission. Closure is often painted as something that requires a conversation, an apology, or some grand moment of understanding between two people. But the truth is, waiting for someone else to give you closure keeps you tied to them long after the relationship has ended. Real strength comes when you decide to create closure on your own, without his permission, without his cooperation, and without his approval. His approval. That's when you take your power back. When a man walks away or treats you in a way that leaves you with unanswered questions, it's natural to want explanations. You want to understand why he did what he did, why things fell apart, or why he couldn't love you the way you deserved. But the hard reality is that some people will never give you the answers you seek. And chasing them only keeps you trapped in the cycle of pain. By choosing to give yourself closure, you free yourself from that cycle. Closure without his permission means you stop waiting for him to validate your experience. You stop hoping for the perfect apology that erases the hurt. Instead, you look at the situation for what it was, accept that it happened, and decide to move forward regardless. It's about choosing peace over endless questioning, healing over reopening wounds, and self-respect over dependency. When you reach this place, you no longer need him to acknowledge the damage he caused for you to heal. You don't need him to admit that he was wrong for you, to let go. You don't need his reassurance to know that you're worthy of better. You've taken that responsibility out of his hands and placed it firmly in your own. This kind of closure is powerful because it ends the emotional leverage he might still have over you. If you're not waiting for him to make things right, he has no way to pull you back into the past. He can't use guilt, charm, or sudden kindness to keep you connected. You've closed the chapter without him even realizing it. And that is a kind of freedom that nothing and no one can take away. Regret kicks in. He notices your glow up. There's a moment after the dust has settled, after the calls have stopped, and after he thinks you faded into the background when something shifts, he sees you again. Not the you he left behind, not the heartbroken version he thought would linger in pain, but the new you, the glowing you, the you that's smiling, thriving, and living your best life without him. And that's when regret hits him like a punch to the gut. At first, he might try to play it cool. He tells himself, your happiness is temporary, maybe even forced, but the more he sees, the harder it is to lie to himself. That confidence in your walk, the light in your eyes, the way you carry yourself, it's undeniable. Your glow up isn't just about looking better, it's about being better. It's about being better. It's proof that you've not only healed, but leveled up in every way. For a man who thought you'd always be within reach, that's a brutal realization. He starts remembering the way things were, but now those memories are laced with what-ifs. What if he had appreciated you more? What if he had stayed? What if he had been the man you needed him to be? And the worst part for him, it's too late. Your glow-up shows him the cost of losing you, and it's a price he can't pay back. He can't reverse the time, undo the damage, or reclaim the place he once held in your life. The door he thought would always be open has been closed with love, with peace, and with no bitterness, just finality. And that's the kind of regret that lingers far longer than the breakup itself. Final advice, never look back. Let me tell you something, and I want you to let this sink in deep. When you walk away from something that was hurting you, draining you, or holding you back, you've already made one of the hardest decisions of your life. You chose yourself. You chose your peace. You chose your future. What you just survived. Looking back might feel tempting sometimes. You think about the good memories, the moments that made you laugh, the parts of him you miss. That's human. But you've got to remember, you didn't walk away from the good parts. You walked away from the parts that broke you. And if you keep looking over your shoulder, you risk walking right back into the same pain you fought so hard to leave behind. See, life is like driving a car. You can't get anywhere staring in the rearview mirror. That little mirror is there for quick glances, but your eyes have to stay on the road ahead. If you keep your gaze locked on what's behind you, you'll crash right into what's in front of you. And trust me, there are better roads, better scenery, and better destinations up ahead. But you'll never reach them if you keep rewinding your past. The truth is, people who are meant to be in your future will never require you to sacrifice your self-worth to keep them. If you had to shrink yourself, silence yourself, or settle for less to keep someone around, they were never your future, but never your future. They were your lesson. And once a lesson is learned, you don't go back to retake the same test. You move forward wiser and stronger. I know sometimes you want closure, a final conversation, a moment where everything makes sense. But here's the thing. Looking back for closure often reopens wounds that were starting to heal. You don't need their words to confirm your decision. You don't need their approval to validate your worth. The fact that you left is all the closure you need. When you refuse to look back, you send a clear message to life itself. I'm ready for better. You start to attract new opportunities, healthier relationships, and the kind of love that doesn't hurt to hold on to. But you've got to give yourself the chance to see it. That means keeping your feet moving forward and your eyes on what's next, not what's gone. So, my final advice is simple. Never look back. The past had its chapter, but the pen is in your hands now. And the best part, the pages ahead are blank, waiting for you to write something so much better than anything you left behind.